And Glenn and I have been joined by Tim Sherwood and Chris. Morning, guys.
Morning, Robbie.
What a week it's been at Old Trafford, culminating the story breaking last night. Now let's speak to the journalist who broke that story. It's the Daily Mirror's David McDonall. How are you, David?
Morning, guys.
So, David, the story that broke last night, you suggesting that Jose Mourinho's lost the confidence of the Manchester United board and is set to be sacked this weekend. That's a huge story.
Yeah, well, this will come as no surprise to anybody. This has not just happened in the last few days. This has been building for weeks, months even. If you recall, Robbie, if you go back to the summer tour, when Jose was calling out everybody, it seemed, he was criticising his players, he was criticising the board, and we know that he was unhappy at not getting all the transfer targets that he'd identified in the summer. Of course, the only one of any significance was Fred, who arrived for 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. And there's been this running battle, and of course the results haven't gone their way this season. He's had public fallouts with players. The board have lost confidence in him, culminating in this story that we broke last night.
There's reports elsewhere suggesting that they're going to stick with him for the time being.
Well, Manchester United are not going to come out, particularly on the day of a game, and say, yes, Jose Mourinho doesn't have our backing, we're going to give him the sack. That's not the way it works. They're a public limited company. The share price would be affected if they were to come out and say that. And of course, you have to remember that this is the club that denied Sir Alex Ferguson was retiring when that story was broken. They denied that David Moyes was getting the sack. Of course, we all broke that story a few days before he went. And of course, even prior to that, they denied the story that they were in talks with Van Gaal. That story was proved correct. And even up till when Van Gaal was winning the FA Cup, and we broke the story that Van Gaal was going to go irrespective of winning the FA Cup. They denied that. And of course, on the Monday after Van Gaal led them to the FA Cup victory, he went as well. So I don't put much store by what Manchester United say. I stand by our story. We stand by our source as well. And I do believe there is a sense of inevitability about Jose Mourinho leaving Manchester United. Whether, as we said, our understanding was that would be this weekend. Whether he manages to limp on a few more days or into the international break, that remains to be seen. But I do feel, and as I said at the outset, this has not been a knee-jerk story. This has been building and building and simmering for quite some time now.
So what Manchester United have said, David, is they dismiss reports that manager Jose Mourinho will be sacked as nonsense. So that's what United have said.
But as I said, Robbie, Manchester United aren't going to come out and admit this. They're not going to come out and say, yes, it's a fair cop, he's going. And I've given you examples of in the past. All the major stories that this board have taken over the last 5 years since Alex Ferguson has left the club have been proven correct. And they are stories that Manchester United have denied. So I don't put any store by what Manchester United say. We know that the players aren't happy. We know that there are senior figures inside the club that aren't happy. The fans aren't happy. There is, I say, a sense of inevitability about Jose Mourinho leaving Manchester United. Whether that's imminently, as we believe it to be, remains to be seen. But I certainly think it's only heading one way. They're already 9 points behind Manchester City after 7 games. They're out of the League Cup. Realistically, they're not going to win the Champions League. They're not in the title race. I can't see, and I'm sure many people share this view, where Jose Mourinho is going to take this Manchester United team forward.
So, David, if Manchester United beat Newcastle 5 or 6-0, play unbelievably well, you're still standing by your story. He will be sacked this weekend.
Well, we believe what we were told, and if you read the story correctly, Chris, that the feeling inside Old Trafford, the feeling from people within the club, is that whatever the result today, he will be gone.
Why didn't they sack him before then? Before this weekend?
Because I think they may have got to the position where they feel they have the international break coming up for 2 weeks. This is a club as well, if you look back at the last, since Sir Alex Ferguson left, this is a club that likes to have a succession plan in place. If you remember, again, the examples I cited, David Moyes was almost a fait accompli. When Sir Alex went, he was installed straight away. There wasn't any kind of real period of uncertainty in terms of Sir Alex's successor. And of course, when Moyes went, Van Gaal was straight in. And of course, when Van Gaal went, Jose was straight in. So my understanding and my feeling is that they may not have a successor in place at the moment, and they may want to cross the T's and dot the I's, as you were, with that before they make any formal announcement on Jose Mourinho. But you have to say, again, I say that the players, the people within the club, this is the feeling. This is what we're told in good faith, that they feel his time is up.
David, thanks so much for joining us there. David McDonall from the Daily Mirror brought the story last night.